Afternoon. Please switch on your videos.
Good afternoon.
So from this class onwards, we'll start with the evolution of psychology. How psychology came to the field that it is now. And it started with something called structuralism. Have you heard of structuralism? No. Okay. Anyways, where was the first laboratory set up?
University of Leipzig.
Leipzig, Germany.
Where is it? Germany. Okay. In the year?
1871.
1870? 1870?
1.
No.
75.
No. 9. 1879. Okay, 1879, 1879. Yes. So it was set up by a person called Wilhelm Wundt. Wilhelm Wundt. You have his name on page 8. Under evolution of psychology, in the first paragraph, you have it. Psychology as a modern discipline, which is influenced to a large extent by Western developments, has a short history. And it is evident from the sentence that most of the developments were from Western side. It's of Western origin. And there is a lot of Western influence in most of the concepts in field, in psychology. And next, it grew out of ancient philosophy concerned with questions of psychological significance. So psychology always has a philosophical basis, a philosophical foundation. It's from the philosophical concepts that we have developed so many other different concepts in psychology. Okay, Alina, are you not well? You look so dull. What happened? Nothing. Okay. We mentioned earlier that the formal beginning of modern psychology is traced back to 1879. Underline that. When the first experimental laboratory was established in Leipzig, Germany by Wilhelm Wundt. Wundt was interested in the study of conscious experience and wanted to analyze the constituents or the building blocks of the mind. Okay, that is basically structuralism as such. Okay, I'll share the PPT. Yes, evolution of psychology. And generally, structure, I told you there are different concepts like structuralism, functionalism, behaviorism, and so many other things coming up. And we generally call it, or in common, we call it schools of psychology. Schools of psychology. It's about the schools of psychology that we are going to learn in the topic evolution of psychology. Okay. So philosophical concepts existed earlier regarding different psychological phenomena. Formal beginning of modern psychology is traced back to Wilhelm Wundt's establishment of the first psychological laboratory at Leipzig, Germany in 1879. This is a very important year. Please don't forget this. Okay. Then, structuralism. First one was structuralism. The approach to psychology that seeks to understand the structure and operation of consciousness or the human mind. That is basically structuralism. Suppose if you want to build a structure, what is the first thing that you have to do? As children, we all have played with building blocks, isn't it? Yes, what do we do in that?
Base.
We take pieces and then lay a foundation or basis, then, or the base, and then? Then
on top of that, we put on this next foundation.
yes, we'll put on the next pieces and then make the whole structure which we are trying to make. And some of us will get it right. For some of us, it will be a failure. Depends on how we build. Yes. So in there, what we focus is on the different elements, right? On different elements that we put together to form the basic structure, or the small units that we collect and put together in order to form the whole structure. So in structuralism, it is the same case. Yeah, the approach to psychology that seeks to understand the structure and operation of consciousness or the human mind. It seeks to understand the structure and operation of consciousness, and the ways through which this studies psychology is through the units or elements of the structure. Units or elements of this whole structure. It is associated with Wilhelm Wundt, who is considered as the father of experimental psychology. Why do you think he is called, or he is known as the father of experimental psychology? Common sense.
Because he set up the first lab.
Exactly. First psychology laboratory. Then Wundt was interested in the study of conscious experience and wanted to analyze the building blocks of the mind. Building blocks of the mind, that's the same thing as I said before. The units or elements. Then structure of mind analyzed through introspection, hence called structuralists. The people who analyze the mind through a method called introspection. The method used in the study, the method used to study these units and elements of the whole structure of mind. That method was called introspection. This method was used to study the mind or the consciousness in structuralism. Okay, those who follow the structuralist school of psychology, they use introspection as a method to analyze the units and elements of the whole structure of mind. Is it too much? I'll repeat once more. The people who follow this school of psychology, that is structuralism, they use this method called introspection to study or to analyze the units and elements of the whole structure of the mind or of the operation of our consciousness. Okay, so structuralists use introspection as a method to study the mind. That's a conclusion. So structure of mind analyzed through introspection. Hence people who use this method, or people who study the elements of mind or units of mind or the whole structure of mind as such, they are called structuralists. People who have done a professional course in psychology, when they practice, they are called psychologists. Similarly, when people follow the structuralist school of structuralism, they follow the school of structuralism and use this method as introspection to analyze the mind in different ways, then we call them structuralist. Clear? Again, in this whole topic of evolution, we have a bit dry topic. Okay, and most of it is in, yes.
Ma'am, will you explain again? My connection went, so I didn't hear.
Okay. Yeah, I'll repeat. And one more thing is, you have to think from a philosophical point of view to get it to register it into your mind. Okay. Now, I'll repeat once more. So structuralism, that is the first school of psychology that we are studying, that we are dealing with. Okay, there are different schools of psychology, and in the evolution of psychology, we start with structuralism. And this was established, or this school of psychology was established because of the contributions, or it is associated, it's very much associated with this person, Wilhelm Wundt. And you know, he is known as the father of experimental psychology, because he set up the first laboratory of psychology in 1879, University of Leipzig, Germany. It's clear, right? Okay, now what is structuralism? Structuralism, when you hear that word itself, think of the whole structure of mind. If you want to build any structure, you need to put several elements together, isn't it? Yes. So even if you try to set up a building, for that we require the raw materials, the cement, the stones, all those stuff. Yes. So in structuralism also, it focuses on the elements or the units of mind. Okay, elements or units of mind. Elements are units of the whole structure of mind as such. So the approach to psychology that seeks to understand the structure and operation of consciousness or the human mind as such. Human mind has a structure, and understanding the elements by focusing on the units and elements of that structure. That school of psychology is called structuralism. Okay, and Wundt was interested in Wundt means Wilhelm Wundt. He was interested in the study of conscious experience and wanted to analyze the building blocks of the mind. These building blocks are the elements or units that I told you about. Elements or units. These elements and units make up the whole structure of mind. So structuralists say that if you want to understand the mind or the structure of mind, you have to study each element and each unit separately. Then only you can understand the whole mind or the whole structure of mind or the operation of your consciousness. That is what these people who stood for the school of psychology, that is structuralism, told others. And because of that, these people were called as structuralists. People who follow structuralism, they are called structuralists. Simple. People who follow structuralism are called structuralists. People who follow functionalism are called functionalists. People who follow behaviorism are called behaviorists, like that. That's coming up. Now, how do we study these elements and units of the whole structure of mind? We use a method called introspection. I'll explain what that is. Just understand this is the name given for the method or the technique that we use to study the units or elements of the whole structure of mind. Is that clear? Everyone?
Yes.
Any more doubts?
Yes, ma'am.
No, all clear. Okay, please switch on your videos, I told you. Please don't switch it off. Okay, next. Introspection, you can note down the definition. Introspection is a process of looking inward to one's feelings and conscious experience. It is the process of looking inward to one's feelings and conscious experience. It's like we are investigating into our own thoughts, feelings, and all the emotions happening inside us. Like, suppose we'll do one activity. Wait, have you taken down the definition?
No, ma'am.
Right. No problem. More explanation for introspection is given in the next slide. See, introspection was a procedure in which individuals or subjects in psychological experiments were asked to describe in detail their own mental processes or experiences. And what happens in this process or the whole process of introspection is that some subjects will come for experiments, right? Subjects means the participants who take place in the who take part in the experiments. They are called subjects. Subjects, or we call them participants also. And when they come for these experiments, how the structuralists studied them is they were asked to describe their own mental processes, how they think, how they feel, what can they experience, everything. Like suppose I ask Eva, what are you feeling right now? What are you thinking about right now? What are you experiencing right now? Just randomly talk about what are you feeling right now, what you are feeling right now.
Ma'am, I'm feeling calm right now.
You're very calm.
Yeah, and I feel free. And I'm learning something right now.
Then?
And it's cold in this room.
Then?
Ma'am, that's it.
That's it. Okay. Yeah. So this is not the actual
Yeah, I know.
yes, but just a miniature form of the introspection. How it is done, and the real method of introspection is done in a more scientific way, because it happens in a scientific setting, with the client, with the person, the experimenter, and in all the experimental conditions are controlled and all those stuff are done. But here, this is just a miniature form, just to understand how it works. Okay. So in introspection, the people who come for the experiment, or the people whom we are trying to study, they are asked to explain their own mental processes. They are asked to explain their own feelings, their own experiences. Suppose if I'm studying about Meryl, I'm taking her as a case study. Then if I'm using the method, if I'm a follower of structuralism, and if I'm using the introspection method, I'll be asking her, if I'm taking a topic like learning or motivation, I'll be asking her to explain her feelings, her experiences in that particular situation where I'm trying to experiment on something. Okay, whatever situation I'm giving her, I'll be asking her to explain in her own words. So she'll be giving me a report on herself. We don't know if that is true or not. Now, Eva told that she is feeling cold. But can we actually validate that statement? Can we say that she is talking truth? Can we?
No.
No. We don't know if she is talking truth or not. That is a major disadvantage of introspection. See the next line? It was considered less scientific because introspective reports could not be verified by outside observers. Understood? So introspection means the subjects or the participants of the experiment, or participants of the study, they would be asked to explain or describe their own experiences, their own mental processes. What I am thinking about, what I am feeling right now, what I am experiencing right now. I'll explain about all those things, and I'll give a verbal report, maybe a written report, or any kind of report to the experimenter or to the person who is studying me as a case study. Okay, that is how introspection is done. But the experimenter, can he come and validate everything that I say? No. And if I talk about the mental processes, I'm telling him or her that I'm thinking about my ex-boyfriend. Can he or she validate that? No. They cannot know if I'm thinking about the lunch that I've skipped. Is it not? Yeah, so that is very unscientific. Because of that, there were many people who stood against this method of analyzing the mind, that is introspection. Understood? That is one of the major disadvantages of introspection. It cannot be validated or it cannot be verified by any outside observer, especially the experimenter or the person who studies the sample of people. Understood? Okay. So structuralism as a whole, I'll just summarize again. Structuralism means it is a school of psychology, or it is an approach towards psychology where we study the structure of mind, or the operation of our consciousness, and we focus on elements or units. We focus on the elements or units or the building blocks. These elements or units are the building blocks of the whole structure of mind. And the method used for this type of study is introspection, where the participants or the subjects are allowed to give a report on their own experiences, mental processes, feelings, etc. That's it. Okay. Yes, Abdul Hasif is here and Abdul Hasif has entered the waiting room. I should not admit, right?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. Now, have you understood what structuralism is? Shall we move on to the next one? Next is functionalism. Okay. So again, in structuralism, don't forget the name of Wilhelm Wundt. Okay, he's known as the father of
Experimental psychology.
experimental psychology. Very good to hear echoes. Okay, functionalism. Developed by an American psychologist, William James. That's the next person, William James. The other one spelling was different. It's not William. If you want pronounce like that and study, it's Wilhelm Wundt. This is William James, who set up a psychological laboratory in Cambridge, Massachusetts. He also set up a psychological laboratory, but that was in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Okay. Now, it is defined as a school of psychology that emphasizes the utilitarian adaptive functions of the human mind or consciousness. There we focused on the elements, units, or the building blocks of the human mind or the structure of mind. But here we are emphasizing on the utilitarian, which means the uses or the adaptive functions of the human mind or consciousness. Hence the name functionalism. So what would you call the people who follow this school of psychology?
Functionalists.
Functionalists, obviously, functionalists. Now, studies what the mind does and how behavior functions. What the mind does, that is actions, which means functions. How behavior functions in making people deal with the environment. That is the core concept of functionalism. From the name itself, you can easily write that it deals with adaptive functions. And utilitarian, that's a big word, still you can add it. Utilitarian means what are the uses, how this functions, what are the working mechanisms. So that's the explanation, the next line. What the mind does and how behavior functions. And most of us does behavior as a response to the environment, isn't it? Yeah, so that is the next term in making people deal with their environment. Now, another person called John Dewey argued that human beings seek to function effectively by adapting to their environment. It's the same point we discussed right now. You need to write the whole sentence, just take down the bullet points. And please make sure that you read the textbook after the class or before you come for the next class. Because in PPTs, only the bullet points or the main points are there. If you want to understand the concept more, you can search in the internet as well as read your textbook. Okay. Finish? Shall I change?
Not finished.
Not finished. Okay. Over. I'll give you time to write after we discuss. Okay, Amal? Please bear with that. Okay, next one. Gestalt psychology. It's pronounced as Gestalt. Gestalt psychology. This was developed in the early 20th century as a reaction to structuralism. It's a reaction to the first one that we discussed, that is structuralist school of psychology. The founders are Max Wertheimer, Wolfgang Kohler, Kurt Kofka, Fritz Perls and all. Weird
Yeah.
names, no?
Should we study the names?
Yes. I think these names are not given in the textbook. Please note down. Or after discussing, I'll give you time to write. So just listen now. I'll give you time to write. Gestalt means form or shape. Okay, it means form or shape. So organization of perceptual experiences. Perception is awareness, comprehension, or an understanding of something. I told you what perception is in the previous classes. How we interpret or comprehend something. Again, the same example. If I'm talking something to you, you can recognize that it's my voice. It's your teacher's voice. You can understand what I'm speaking, isn't it? So you can perceive it. You can interpret it. Interpret the senses. And if you're seeing something, you can interpret that. If you can see this word, you can interpret it as Gestalt, and you can comprehend it as Gestalt, isn't it? So that is perception, organization of perceptual experiences. That is our focus in Gestalt psychology. And what we experience is more than the inputs we receive from the environment. Again, this is a very philosophical concept once more. The main, again, tagline, the famous tagline is this: whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Whenever you hear of Gestalt psychology, we are going to hear about it more because in perception chapter we have this, in disorders we have, not disorders, in therapeutic techniques we have this. So whenever you hear this term Gestalt or Gestalt psychology, think of this tagline: whole is greater than the sum of its parts. That is, our experiences are holistic in nature. In the first line we saw it's against structuralism. What did structuralism focus on? If this is the whole structure, then structuralism focused on these elements or these building blocks of the whole structure of mind. But Gestalt psychology focused on these, or not on these, on this whole part, not on the small elements or units. According to Gestalt psychologists, or according to the people who follow Gestalt psychology, we can study mind only if we consider the whole part, not the simple units or elements. And who told that, or who proposed the idea that the structure or the units or the elements were important in studying the consciousness?
Wilhelm.
Wilhelm Wundt. And in general, what do we call them?
Structuralist.
Structuralists, yes, correct. So here, Gestalt psychologists, they think that whole is better than the sum of its parts. Okay, and here, just see that picture given on the top right corner. What can you see, Kevin?
I'm a T.
T, yes. Anila, what can you see?
T.
T. Anybody who can see anything other than T?
Ma'am, it's like a crossroad when two roads meet.
Crossroad, okay.
They're dotted lines.
Dotted lines, yes. That's it? Yeah. So the crossroad on the T was in the form of or stands along with the Gestalt psychologists. And the dotted lines stands with the structuralists. That's the difference. Okay, Gestalt psychologists focus on the whole. We comprehend it as the whole, holistic nature. And the dotted lines, they are the small elements that make up the T, right? Small elements that make up that, in maps and all we see crossroads, just like that. We can consider them as the small elements that make up the whole structure. So if you comprehend it or if you interpret that in the form of small elements, then that is structuralism. You're in for structuralism, but if that is considered as a whole, then that is Gestalt psychology. Understood? That's the difference. Okay, so Gestalt means form or shape. That is why it is called so, Gestalt psychology. We are focusing on the whole rather than the sum of its parts or rather than the small parts, the small inputs. Okay, yeah, that's it. Now you wanted this one, right? Yeah, right down. Those who have not completed, you can take down the points. Please switch on your videos. I'm marking attendance. Abhiram is absent.
Ma'am, Abhiram doesn't have net.
Came and went, no? He was there in the
Yes,
beginning.
ma'am. Yes.
Abhijit, were you there in the first hour?
Ma'am, I came 10 minutes late.
Basuri. Present. Omar is present.
Yes, ma'am.
Sanam. Sanam is absent. Okay, finish the slide. Amal finished? Huh? Shall I change?
Yes.
Okay, next one.
And one more time, can you explain functionalism?
Which one?
Functionalism.
Functionalism. Yes, I'll explain. I'm changing the slide. Just a minute. Yeah, functionalism that focuses on the functions of the mind, means what the mind does. What are the adaptive functions of the mind, which means what all things or in what all processes does the mind engage in. That is the focus of functionalism. And here you have utilitarian. Utilitarian means the uses. The uses, or in what all means, through what all means can we engage our mind in. And what are the adaptive functions? Adaptive functions means not just any kind of function. Adaptive functions means the functions that allow you to adapt to your environment, adapt to your surroundings, adapt to the situations in your life. That is adaptive functions. And it studies what the mind does. That is the main concept. The explanation of this second statement is given in the third statement. What the mind does and how behavior functions in making people. Why does it function in making people deal with the environment? That's it. Hearing that big term, don't confuse yourself. Functions, that word is there, no? So from that itself you explain and write. Like it deals with the functions of the mind. Structuralism, it focuses on the structure of the mind. Gestalt is a new term, understand its form or shape. And study the tagline, then it'll be easy for you to understand. Gestalt psychology. One example is given in your textbook. I'll just read it out. In other words, what we experience is more than the inputs received from our environment. I already told that in Gestalt psychology. Okay. And when, for example, light from a series of flashing bulbs falls on a retina, we actually experience movement of light. Have you experienced that? Especially during Christmas. Most of the shops, or in front of the shops, we'll have LED lights in different forms. It might be marquee lights and all. It'll be in the form of a reindeer. It'll be in the form of a Christmas tree. And what is that actually? That is one light blinking after the other light in a sequential manner. But we can see the light is moving, isn't it? Yes? Have you observed that? Yeah, that is also because of this Gestalt. We don't see that, we don't perceive. Instead, we only interpret the whole part, which is the lights as moving, or whatever figure that is depicting that figure as moving. That is it. That is one example. Then animation movies. The real actors don't move in that, right? It is a series of pictures being run in a particular frequency, particular speed, so that we can see movement in that, in those series of pictures. Yes. Then have you seen artists? Again, Abdul Hasif is entering. Abdul is here, no?
It's a fake.
No, Abdul left.
I'm here. Ma'am, I'm
Abdul
here.
is here. See, again. What is your full name, Abdul?
Abdul Hasif Muhammad.
The entire name is there. Imposters. Okay. And now, what were we discussing? Movies, right?
Yeah, animation movies.
Yeah, animation movies. In that also the same thing happens. We see the whole thing as moving and not as a series of pictures, right? We don't see the each item, each picture or each drawing. And one more thing is there. Have you seen artists drawing each movement in each page, and then if we flip, we can see the picture as moving? Have you seen that? I don't know the exact name for that art.
Flipbook.
Flipbook.
Yeah, that one.
Ma'am, my phone's battery is going to die. Can I leave?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next time, charge the phone and come.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. So that is also one example of this thing, Gestalt psychology, how we can actually perceive the thing as moving. That suggests that we can comprehend the whole thing together, no? If we are just seeing the drawings as single pictures or drawings, then we can only comprehend that. We can only interpret that. You cannot experience that picture as moving. But here we can see that. So that means Gestalt psychology also works. Okay, now who asked me about functionalism? Who asked me about functionalism? Was it Abhijit?
Abhijit Taramulli, ma'am.
Abhijit only asked, okay. He left anyways. Tom sat in class 11 psychology. Next one. Okay, now is this over? Functionalism over? Yeah, just start. If you want to write, please write down. Do we have somebody named Tom in 11th?
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Which class?
There are two terms.
Two Toms. Okay. I forgot. Those who have the textbook and those who have finished writing, just see this page. Can you see that box? This one? Page 9. Some interesting landmarks in the evolution of modern psychology. As
Yes,
of
ma'am.
now, no need to study that by heart. But when we were studying psychology, we had to study the entire things, even more than this. But as of now, just mark and keep. Now, no need to study. If you have to, I'll tell you. Finished?
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone?
Can you explain the last line? Our experiences are holistic in nature. I don't know what holistic means.
Holistic means as a whole. Just as
Ma'am, that's the meaning of holistic?
holistic. Here, that is the meaning. The contextual meaning is holistic means it's as a whole. Like not broken down into simple elements. The whole experience is what we are looking for in gestural psychology. Okay. Think of that example which we discussed, animation, then the maculites, flip books and all. Okay, finished? Okay. So now we have to discuss about behaviorism, psychoanalysis, humanistic perspective. Then we have cognitive perspective. And after that, we'll finish. Hopefully, in the next class, we'll finish this. Okay. Do you have any doubt till now? If you have any, please feel free to ask. Any doubt? No. Feeling sleepy, everyone? I know this is a bit dry, but still. The first chapter is more or less dry than the other ones. Okay, I'm trying my level best to not let you sleep. Okay. Shall we wind up then? Just 1 minute left. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.